Hello and welcome back to Galactic Goddess Podcast. I'm your host, Radha, and today we are speaking with Eva Vennari, and we are discussing how to be your own Gandalf the Grey. And Eva, you are such a multi-potentialite, and I want to share with our audience a bit about who you are and also what a potentialite is.
Yeah. It's really not having any one true purpose calling. It's that you notice you have a natural calling and inclination to a bunch of different things that all lead you to a similar goal. Yeah. So they call me a spiritual alchemist, which has its own can of worms we could talk about.
I love it. You have so many skills. You're a mineral alchemist and a healer, and you're so much fun to be around. We spent a lot of time together on the book tour, the travel, the talk in Europe. And so today I want to talk about you know, being a light worker and also about protection as a light worker. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, yeah, I think there's a lot of confusion out there about, and I came across this for myself in my own journey too. It's like, well, once you start working as a light worker, well, first of all, what does that mean? And because you have people throwing the word around but really don't know what it means. And then you have those who are, yep, I know what light worker is, somebody who works in the light. Well, what is the light? So when you go to what you consider white light, this goodness, you're thinking, well, then I can't fight and I can't defend, and I'm just then attacked all the time, and I have to be a victim to whatever attacks are sent my way, and it's just simply not true. There's a
Mm,
bigger picture to look at.
I love that. You brought in the word, you always talk about like the gray. And I think that's such a cool subject for those that have never heard it. And I bet a lot of light workers have never heard that either.
Yeah, so Dolores Cannon talks about it too, because she's done a lot of past life regression work, and it was something brought up in her clients working, and they described this like you can be a light worker, somebody who works in the white of the goodness of, let's call it heavenly light, right? And so the angel light or white light, this Reiki uses it as, the Christ conscious light that comes in for healing through the hands. There's a bunch of different things that it could entail. It's inclusive of so many things that are meant for healing. Really, light worker is someone who brings healing, even if it's just emotional healing, holding space for somebody, right? Then you've got the dark. Well, anybody who has been working as a light worker knows that we are in opposition to the darkness. And we're talking about black magic, anything that's looking to control. People oftentimes will correlate the cabal with black magic. Well, it really comes down to this simple thing. If something is trying to take over the free will or break the connection between you and your source, God, that is the use of dark or black magic.
I love that summary. Yes. It's about
Very
control, right? So it's trying to control someone else's free will.
Yeah, so that's where manipulation gets a bad name. That's where lying gets a bad name. Anytime you're taking away the free will of another person to make a sovereign decision,
Oh,
that's black magic.
wow. And so, in the laws of the universe, there are universal laws about how we conduct ourselves, about what our rights are as a sovereign being, and also the way that we interact with others, with the whole control issue. And I'd love you to speak on that, like about the laws of the universe and how that works. So some people just don't know.
Yeah, they don't. And it's okay not to know, that the ignorance can be fixed with facts and information. Stupidity cannot be fixed. So don't be stupid. Like really just pay attention to stuff. So I mean, just to wrap up too, we didn't get to say what gray is. So the gray is the when you have your white light that you're using to fight against black magic. That's gray. That's in the gray. So then going back to this, law of karma speaks to that. You've got the 7 basic principles of the universe. None of them are law of karma. So the principles are the top ones. And let me just set the record straight here. In my human design, it's all about this. Universal law is part of my design. So it's really simple for me to apply it. And I love actually digging into the hermetic laws. But law of karma, whatever you put out is going to come back to you. And isn't that the golden rule? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you, to speak in old English. But that is really about anytime. It's the same thing. Anytime that it's not just about being good. It's not just about being a good person. It's about your intention. It's about what are you trying to achieve with this relationship? You can unknowingly omit a fact that would keep something important from a person's consciousness to make a sovereign decision. And then once you remember that fact, immediately, like your calling is to share it. Go, oh, I forgot this one thing. It's really important. You might want to keep this in mind too, and then deliver it, right? So, and when we don't, the karma on that is threefold. That's natural. It's known within the witch community, the coven community. Anytime they send a spell, then that comes back to them threefold. Always does.
And that's without doing anything. That's just like the law of the law.
The law of the law, and they all know that. They do know that. So over time, the diminishing returns is another law of diminishing returns, is that you actually lose some of your magical ability. So if you are a person who is connected to source, to your higher self, to your magical beings, your elemental, your guides, your loved ones, your angels, do you want to lose that? How important is that? Your everyday guidance to get your intuition understood, to be also in service into the world. It was a story back in, I think, World War II, that Germany hired a bunch of psychics to find out what was going on with the Allies. And they knew that after a while, the psychics would burn out. They would lose their magical ability. So it's known.
When you're misusing your magic, it does get taken away.
It gets capped. So quite literally. So I was in a what I call a restore session with a client. This is before we went to England, I believe. So July maybe. And I'm on the phone with her and we're talking about why she's having a hard time connecting magically. And all of a sudden here comes Ra. Remember Ra from ancient Egypt? And he comes into the session and he says, yeah, we had to put the cap on her, a magical cap. It's almost like a ball cap, right, without the hood. But you have this cap put over her so that she could not abuse her abilities, because she was using it incorrectly in past lives.
Wow.
Not even in this one.
Wow.
In past life, she had a cap, and he goes, based on what's going on here today and the healing that you're working with her on, we're going to remove the cap. And it took him to do it. Now I can do that in person, but to have somebody that high up on the chain, this was serious. This tells me how, if you call it the Galactic Federation or some level of accountability is in place, how important it is to keep your sovereignty and your authenticity in check. Your
Wow.
integrity, how important it is.
That is so important. Yeah, because it's getting really trendy to learn the darker arts, and so the young ones are really getting into it very early. It's in all the movies too, you know. And there's this belief that, you know, and basically I've even been told in the entertainment industry, if you're not going to do this, you're done, you know. And this is the only way, because that's really the belief system that a lot of people have, that this is the only way, and if you don't do it, you're nothing, you're done, that's it.
It's the other way around. You'll have things here in this life, but you're losing out on your eternalness.
Yeah. Your connection.
It can create a fractured soul instance, which is what hauntings are. Hauntings are pieces of the soul left behind in that time-space continuum that just replays the moment of trauma.
Yeah.
And you have other issues that could arise, difficulties with family members, keeping close relationships, have people won't trust you. It's just they'll feel it. People won't want to do business with you, not unless they're also on that same negative level.
So what about when people congregate? And that's also something that happens a lot, where people congregate for the darker nefarious purposes of trying to gain off of other people, innocent people, right? they don't even know this is going on, but they're literally targeting people, trying to siphon their energy to build their empires and all that, you know?
Yeah, yeah. It's not uncommon. It does happen. You have covens of practicing witches and warlocks who are out of integrity, using magic in a way to steal energy and power from other individuals. And the best thing we can do is learn how to ongoingly defend. And that's where the gray comes in.
Yeah, it's because, you know, as light worker, you know, light workers are like, or healers, like there's a stigma that you just have to be so sweet and so, and like, you know, if you put up boundaries, oh, you're a bad person, you're not a real healer, because who are you to put up your boundaries and who are you to say no? And I know, but isn't that like there's these stigmas? They really are.
Well,
And
who's it benefiting for you not to put your boundaries up? Who's
the,
the
yeah.
person complaining probably is trying to do right. Okay, so it's calling themselves out. That's all it's saying.
But there's this, but I noticed like I've met so many healers because I love healing, I love healers. And there's this like fear. And then also I, you know, also I've had sessions and I give sessions, I've had sessions, but I found it that it's very rare that healers do not feel comfortable going deep into like like they can't open their eyes to the truth of that there is darkness. So they're like, it's just angels and love and light. And you bring up anything else and they like, you know, try to change a subject. Like there's this fear of looking at the truth. And how can you really be a healer if you can't face the truth? Can you speak about facing the darkness in order to, you know, you have to be able to face the truth. Come on.
It's the same though as doing your personal development work. It's very courageous to look in the mirror and say, you know what? In my case, Eva, I don't like this about you. Let's change that. And so I think it's much the same way. If we live in toxic positivity, where we ignore the actual parts of negative, um, the aspects of ourselves or even of our environment and maybe really even relationship interactions, like if we ignore that, we're losing out on the opportunity to expand. And the expansion of the soul is what keeps us alive, or I should say, the expansion of ourself. So our sense of self and expansion is what tells the body, oh, we need to live because we've got to grow into this new space that we've just became aware of. So think about a root system of a tree or a plant. A root system will only grow as large as the container.
That's
But
right.
if you've received a new awareness, that's like getting a whole new container for that plant. You put more roots in, you got to put the roots in, and you've got space now between where the roots were and the edge. You've got to grow to it, right? So I think this is part of that. And whenever you're denying somebody their truth, if you get a message as a healer and you're like, oh gosh, I don't think I can share this with that person, that's too negative. Who are you to get in the way of their personal development? Do it with tact, do it with kindness, do it with care, and ask permission. I just received, it goes like this, I just received a message about you, and I think it will really help your spiritual development. May I share that with you? Get permission. You know, if they're not ready for it, then don't share it, but at least you offered. And that's not being negative. That's not being mean. That's being of integrity.
Absolutely. Absolutely, yes. I'd love for you to speak more about because I really like your style. You know, you're like very hardcore in that sense. Like you know, you got your it's so much fun. I had a ball hanging out with you in Europe. I was just having a blast. Every day was an adventure. But you know, that kind of, you know, owning that side of you where you are like, no, I'm not here to be a victim. I'm not here for people to siphon my light or my energy or use my creation energy to jack up their world. Like that's not happening, you know?
No, yeah, spirituality, your spirit, here's what I found. Spiritual guides, my loved ones, people who protect me on the other side of the veil, they hold me to a higher level of accountability. And if they see somebody here, they witness a friend, colleague, somebody that I have close to me doing something that's nefarious is like a fun word, But it can be as simple as they're not in a two-way give and receive. They're just taking from me. They'll tell me, like, Eva, you need to be aware this person is not giving to this relationship in a two-way. You could say that a lot about a lot of narcissists, right? People who are just selfish and they have a relationship to take from you. Well, all you have to do is say, I'm withdrawing my energy from this relationship and I wish you the best.
That's so
That feels, isn't it? It feels way better than you're an a-hole. I can't stand the way that you did X, Y, and Z with a bunch of accusations. It makes you out of alignment with who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Big difference. It's just how you approach. I think that's really important because isn't the relationship with ourselves the most important one?
Yes. Yes. I think that's beautiful. That bringing that tenderness and softness into these very strong boundaries, reframing it. And I feel healers naturally are overgivers, right? So they're always extended. They want to, they want to uplift everyone and fix everyone. And I think that's at least for me, one of my biggest lessons has been like, you need stronger boundaries. You cannot just overgive until your cup is empty. And then there nobody's around when your cup's empty, but then you fill yourself back up and they're like, hey, we want some of that again, so
It's the age-old complaint when somebody wins the lottery. It's like suddenly all of your your old friends and your family come out of the woodwork, and you're like,
like, oh,
it's the same energy, right? Yeah.
to me that's so creepy though. Like, wow, if somebody if somebody won the lottery, I wouldn't expect them to just like give me their winnings. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, but to other people who are only interested in themselves and taking, what they can, and that's opportunists are everywhere.
Yeah.
It's second nature to them, and they'll ask and they'll ask and they'll ask even after you say no. So you might have to say no a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about the balance, the balance between the light and the dark, and getting into the juicy part about armoring up. That's just so much fun. I love talking about this, and it's so much fun because you're so passionate about it. Well, you're just like, yeah, I get into this warrior mode. I'm like, woo, okay.
Well, if you had the army of Archangel Michael's angels at your back, and elemental beings like dragons at your back, it's like walking down the street with a pit bull.
I love it.
They cross to the other side when they're scared of a pit bull, right?
Mm.
Nobody you. And so it's not a feeling of power, it's a feeling of strength.
Mm. Yeah, I like that. It's not like you're not out there taking other people's power. You're just simply owning your own. And I feel that we're really coming into a time where people, like, it's time to bring a conversation where people can own their power instead of constantly giving it away and without apology, especially as a woman.
Yeah. I noticed something when we were in England. A lot of women would say, "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry." Every other word, "I'm sorry."
Mhm.
Where did you get that from? Like, why are you constantly sorry? Stop. You can apologize. You can certainly explain yourself if you need to, but most of the time, nobody's asking you to apologize or say you're sorry. So I think that's one of the self-worth, the differences between being able to own your power and your light, your personal power and your light, and you as a sovereign being on the planet, and the opposite of that. That being of opposite leaves you open to attack automatically. You get what I call the emotional sticky spots on you, and that's going to be, shame, guilt, fear, anything that gets in the way of your sovereignty. And what I mean sovereignty is your pure connection between you, your higher self, and God.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
If we think about what breaks that, well, I was curious over the weekend, and I just really wanted to know, because I often say that Catholic churches, and it's in the inception is what created the need for exorcisms. And if you look at what religion often does, they break the connection between directly you and God. They say, oh no, you can't go directly. You're a sinner. You aren't worthy of that. You have to go through a priest, right? So now you're zigzagging to get there. No. No. And I thought, well, is this true with only Catholic religion? No, it's true with all major religions. Why? Because all major religions came out of the universal laws, and they cherry picked the ones that would suit them the most for the message they wanted to receive, but then they corrupted it just to basically get their leadership. They,
Yeah.
they yeah, they want the followership, and so in order to corrupt it and make you fearful, if I don't join your church, I'm going to die, which is what happened a lot to build the Catholic community. And I
Oof.
speak to that because that's the history I know. Oh my God, a lot of the pagan religions. I mean, if we wanted to go on a tangent real quick, um, Christmas in and of itself is a collection of about 12 different pagan religious ceremonies that were all adopted by the Catholic Church, which, by the way, Catholic means universal. So they
Mm.
were trying to bring in all these people from the different pagan religions and say, be one of us. We want you as part of us. And you can keep your tree, your Christmas tree. You can keep your Saint Nick. You can keep your Saturnalia. We're just going to all call it Christmas on the 25th. And oh, forget about solstice.
Mhm.
So we're calling it now Jesus Christ's birthday. So this is a pure lie, a compromise of our religious beliefs. But these people were told, if you don't join us, then we'll kill you. And
Yeah.
that's what happened with Druids. That's what happened with, a lot of different, including the Gauls. Anyways, so history. I digress.
Well, but I think it's a very valid point. I mean, I can attest to that because that's what happened in the Philippines. And my mother actually, she had a home, and they had a whole community, and it belonged to them. And the church came in one day and with their army and their machine guns, and came to the door with them and told my grandfather, get your things in order, and you need to leave in 4 hours or something like that. And they had to just walk out with the things on their back. But the church came right in and bulldozed everybody's houses. They left these people stranded and for dead, kids, babies. I mean, it was a huge community and nobody protected them. They had armed, military. So it was brutal. And, that's really what happened in the Philippines too, is like they came in and pretty much beat beat the light out of everybody, that nobody remembered their true heritage about being these healers. And so it's unfortunate that happened, Very-
Yeah, there's no good way to reframe that. I mean, that's history and that's tragedy on a monumental scale, and an even more recent one than the ones that I was referencing. The ones I'm referencing, go back a couple of, 1500 years.
Wow.
So this one's much more recent, and I didn't realize that it had been happening up until that time, and that's shameful. We should be turning the shame around on the church and saying, "How dare you?" And I think that's in a place of power, we can say that.
Why do
I
you
don't
think that so many people, I'm sorry, why do you think that so many people continue to feed into these organizations when they're, even abusing their kids and such like that? It's
know there is also the other side of it. So if you have a person, think about this. Think of it as this way. Spiritually, I believe that this is mine. You can have your own, but I think that organized religion is the same thing as kindergarten. So you have to learn some structure somewhere. At
Mhm.
some point, though, you graduate kindergarten and you move up the scale of grade school, and then you go into middle school, high school, and college, and you graduate, and then you live your life. But I don't see where people grow spiritually in the church, but they get comfortable there. And fear and shame and guilt keep them there. Why? Because why would their parents teach them to worship within a community if it wasn't good for them? Right. So now, if you're saying the church is bad, now by association, you're saying things that are attacking, like, well, my parents are bad for sharing this with me. No, 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 no. They gave you a foundation. And then once you reach a certain age of maturity, you can make up your own mind. You do not have to follow the rest of your family. You can decide that this is something that's not for you. But too many people get stuck in the kind of like, what's that frogs in a bucket where you're turning up the heat, and as they're trying to jump, some of them are trying to jump out, but the other ones will grab their legs and say, no, you have to stay in, and then they all cook together. It's like an all or nothing thing.
Oh my gosh, that's so intense, but wow. Visual.
That's how I see it. It's like once you become a more once you have the root system that has grown beyond the potted plant container, you can't go to the smaller container.
Yeah.
Right? You gotta
Right.
keep, if you want to grow, if you want to live, then you got to keep expanding your container and growing into it, making up the difference between where you are and where you've grown into being.
Mhm. That's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Did we actually talk about protection, spiritual protection?
No, the things of what to do. So, where to start?
I
This is a
know.
bit, yeah. So there is spiritual hygiene, which means you just can't go astral traveling and taking ayahuasca trips without being protected.
Mhm.
Anybody who says that it's okay to do, check
Mm-mm.
your spiritual discernment. Your guides should all be telling you don't do it.
Mhm.
Um, there are people who are specifically meant to carry the weight of protection while you're under that type of, you know, psychedelic environment. And if you don't do it right, you come back with little elementals and all the way up to a demonic possession. How do I know? Because I clean them off of people all the time. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
That's,
we
yeah,
do
yeah,
their spiritual protection before they go into.
before they go in and after requires a whole, especially when it comes to ayahuasca or any of the grandmother, the grandfather, and any of those um teas, that people drink, and they think they're going on a spiritual journey. You're basically disconnecting your spirit, your soul from the body temporarily into the funny farm of astral fields, if you will. You don't even know what you're getting into, all kind of weird elementals and things, and they attach themselves to your body while you're away.
Mhm. And yeah, because you're vulnerable.
You're vulnerable. Yeah, you're leaving it open. So there are stylized ways of communicating with spirit to protect yourself. There's things that you can do. Some of them require a physical handing down. Some of them require simple, prayer protection. You could use the Our Father if you came from a Catholic background and you have that in your head. You could use anything that calls out to your gratitude for life, your connection with your God, whoever that is, however you call them. I don't care. I don't care to go through the list. Yeah, people who write books and they write God and then they put in parentheses like this 2 line long of options. We're not talking about gender. We're just talking about
Yeah.
God.
That's
You
so-
insert your own option. So that, and then a prayer to ask for protection. Say, protect me from, and also from myself so that I don't hurt myself. And then you follow it up with whatever gratitude you like. So it's like, it's a sandwich, right? And when you do that, you're evoking and invoking. You're evoking the call of compassion from your spirit guides,
Yeah.
and you're also creating a space that's safe. So yeah, that just simply sets you up for protection. If you want to take it a step further and defend, that means you feel like you've been hexed, cursed, spelled, have a demonic entity on you, attached to you somehow. First of all, you have to find somebody who can identify, do I have this on me? If you don't know if you do, but you feel off, strange, if you have symptoms physically that you didn't have before, what does that look like, Eva? Well, it could be chronic fatigue, anxiety, insomnia, depression, fibromyalgia, itchy skin, heart palpitations, arthritis, right? So the physical conditions of a demonic possession are the same as if you have adrenal burnout.
So weird.
And I know, and this is why I work on the entire spectrum of the physical body all the way to the spiritual. So once you have somebody who can identify, yep, that's what's going on, then it has to be removed. And then we have to address why it was stuck there to you in the first place. And the sticky spots are
Shame,
yep,
guilt.
yep, and fear. Yeah, so it's a matter of addressing that and correcting your sense of self-worth. And that could take some coaching, it could take some guidance, it could take, everybody needs a shotgun. to the driver so that they can point out, you know, what they can't see in their blind spots. And because if you could do it on your own, you would have by now. So get somebody who can help you process and learn to process and then learn to protect. So, and I have one more fun thing that I do. So you can do what's called a return to sender. And this works you can do this every day. Light a candle. A white candle is great. This is magic, witchcraft in the light. In the white white light, and it doesn't go towards anybody directly. This is for you. It creates what I call a filter around you, so that any energy that comes at you from externally, this filter will catch and play with. So say somebody sends you an evil eye. You light this light candle and you call out, do your prayer protection, you call out to your angels, and you say, I return any hexes, curses, or spells to sender. Automatically, that's a threefold send back, but you can magnify that. And I magnify this to 10 times fold so they know not to mess with me again. And you can lace the return energy with, and they will immediately lose temporary control and ability to use their magical powers. I bind their mouths for speaking. That's where we get spells. And I bind their hands so they can't make pentagrams. Okay. So those are magical things that you can do. And what happens is you turn them over then to the Galactic Federation, and Ra comes, and or one of Archangel Michael's, you know, soldiers comes, and because Archangel Michael doesn't come, it's his angels. It's all of his soldiers. He's unavailable. He's like Christ. He's facing the other way. He's not paying attention to us. He's in service to us. He has a whole army available to us. And these are my guys that I work with. So you can do a return to sender, and you can lace all of that energy back with the magical bindings, and then have them be taken by the angels up to the Galactic Federation for trial. If they are a human being who has done this, then the human being will be taken care of. Oh, I hand in the back. So funny. Zoom, lower hand. There we go. Yes, this is something that you have the right, the responsibility, and sometimes the hidden, but it is your responsibility to do. Angels do not come to your aid unless you ask. They're up there doing this.
They're just waiting. They're just waiting for some action. Like,
until you ask, and you have to ask them by what effect do you want to receive? Do I need healing? Do I need courage? Do I need whatever? You know, pick it. Do I need extra love? Do I need extra compassion? What do I need? And the right angels will come in and assist you. That's every time. I have never been left with crickets when I've asked angels for help, ever.
Oh my gosh, remember when we asked for we were in Europe? Can you tell the story? Because you know, it's so cute.
When we were leaving the place in Glastonbury.
And yeah, I had like 5 luggages.
I had 2 bags with me, and I'm out the front door. And so I hear her kind of struggling. She's getting all the bags through. She's behind me. And I'm like, why aren't you behind me ready to go? And I hear her going, oh, Jesus, please help me. I can't do this. Immediately, here comes a guy going, oh, you need help with those bags? I'll help you with those bags. Who are you? Where did you come from?
So perfect. I'm like, thank you.
That's
oh,
so
you have no idea. All the books and everything I was carrying, I was lugging them, and I was like, I don't think I could even do one more step anymore, you know?
Yeah. No, that was hilarious. Yeah, but they do, and you know, our prayers are answered in ways that we don't always expect, but if we're open to it, the answer's there. Yeah.
I really believe in miracles. I think that miracles are such a beautiful part of life. And you know, as a little girl, I used to believe in fairies, and I still do, but I really knew that fairies existed. And I was like always dreaming about fairies. I just wanted to meet a fairy. And I remember walking through this park with all my friends and they were just running and I was just kind of in this prayer that I would love to meet a fairy today, hello everybody, kind of acknowledging everybody. And before I left, it was kind of dusk and this like beautiful fuchsia orb showed up. And because I was sitting, I was like, I didn't meet my fairy in the back seat looking at the beautiful park, and my friends were all looking forward. And then it came, and I was like, it was just the most exciting feeling I've ever had. It was just so beautiful. And I think we can be so surprised when these little magical things happen, but it's just that confirmation, you know?
The elementals, for the most part, they're here to help us on our human journey of getting through the test of Earth, as I call it.
Mhm. Absolutely. And so, I mean, I believe if you feel connected to that, they do show up into your realm, you know?
They do.
And it's interesting how some people can see them and some people can't, or refuse to, like, that doesn't exist, that's crazy, like
Okay, they don't have to. It's just like, gravity exists. You don't have to believe in it to know that when I let go of this pin, it's gonna
yeah.
drop. You don't have to believe.
Exactly. We don't have to all believe the same thing. It's perfectly fine. Um, I love it if you share. I don't know if you want to. Maybe it's too personal. Remember the story you told when we went out the other night,
Mm.
and that that cool thing that happened. It's up to you if you want to share, because I know I don't want to
Yeah,
intrude.
I can share. I don't know the names of the people, so it's just it happened in real time that my protection spell of what I have on me worked. So I was sleeping and I woke up to what looked like, and I don't have a crystal ball. I totally should have a crystal ball, but I don't. So I woke up and I turned over, and all I could see was this woman like with her hands through the crystal ball, and all of a sudden she was shocked that I was awake, and you
Mhm.
could see her kind of do that, and then I noticed something was happening with her mind.
Mhm.
Well, whatever she was trying to do, whether it was maybe she was trying to mess with my mind. So if they receive back tenfold the damage that they're intending, her mind was scrambled to the point where I could hear the people who were with her. And I think she was a witch trying to do something, right? People that were with her go, oh my God, what's happening to her? Where'd she go? And then poof, it was gone. She was like, had a lobotomy right in front of me. And that was real. That was not a dream. I woke up, my eyes were open, and I could see her clearly.
So like the veil was thin, and you were able to see that intention in that moment because
She
your
had
yeah.
she had astral travel to me, which is a no-no. That's part of spiritual hygiene. You never astral travel to a person to spy on them. Right? That's what the allies were being spied on, right? And so those witches who were helping the Axis, Hitler's cronies, right? So they were spying on people without their permission. That burns them out.
That does, yeah, because that karma is bad. That's
Yeah,
very bad, especially because that's nefarious, right? I mean,
yeah. You don't want to spy on people.
mhm.
You don't want to spy on what they're doing, what they're going through. We've got a cat that's June is going to come and visit us.
Oh, I could feel her.
She loves magic. She likes it whenever I do a magic circle or something. She wants to play with energy. It's fun for her.
No, I love her energy. She just blessed us all with her divine grace. Thank you. I felt it. I was like, I feel it. Her presence is royal. Wow. I really thought that was an interesting story. And you have so many other fun ones. You want to share another really juicy story?
Oh my gosh, where? Yeah, that's a fun story. So I got a couple in mind. One is a friend of mine. I gone through an experience of having my soul retrieved, and I didn't know what it was until I started to feel this incongruence and a lot of anxiety around like, why are my spiritual gifts suddenly being dampened? I didn't
Mhm.
have any demonic possessions on me, no hexes, curses, or spells, and everything that I tried to manifest suddenly stopped. So if you're in that position, know that that's just your soul needs to be retrieved.
Mm.
So I had the soul retrieval done, and then I decided to learn how to do it so that I could help others, because that's part of why we go through things,
Yeah,
so that
that's right.
others with it. So I got the certification, became familiar with it, started to practice it on myself and do it to some others. And then I had a good friend of mine reach out, and he had those same symptoms. And I go, have you had a soul retrieval done? He's like, several of them. And I go, what do you think happened? He says, they didn't work. So it was a need for alchemy, magical alchemy, right? This is that need for taking more than one spiritual healing and blending them together. So he agreed to let me try. He's like, well, I can't lose anything. The soul, it's either together or it's not. We'll figure it out. So we get into a session and we discover I had previous knowledge. He had been on some ayahuasca
Mm.
travels. And I could see his, in my mind's eye, I could see his whole soul, except for the very center of it was missing. This beautiful dark blue, sparkly color, like a sheet, like a cape. If you were Superman, you'd wear that cape. That's your
Yeah.
soul, like that. That's how I see it. And I'm like, interesting. You do have your most of your soul retrieved, but there's one piece missing. And so I just tapped into the missing part, and psychically, I was able to travel to the who had it.
Mm.
We connected. I traveled to that person, and it wasn't a person, it was an entity, it was an elemental from the creepy zone, I call it, where you go when you're on an ayahuasca trip. And I started an open dialogue with this god of ayahuasca, if you will. And it's kind of looks like a feathery, liony headish thing, what animal and then human. And I go, who are you to take this piece from my friend? He says, well, he agreed to it. I don't think that's true. Explain. It turns out we followed the history and we went now into the Akashic records. And then we went into, this is why several things at once are required. You can't just do one modality. People who sell just one modality, it's a hunt and kill allopathic method. You've got to put it all together. It's holistic. So we followed the ancestry line and realized that his grandfather's father, so great grandfather, made an agreement. And the agreement was supposed to be solved before he died, but since it wasn't, his son inherited the problem or the agreement, and then his son, and so on down the line. So, according to this demonic, he agreed to it.
By hereditary.
Yeah. So I
Okay.
cleared all of that. I turned him over to the Galactic Federation. And I says, you have corrupted the meaning of agreement. And I says, you did not get this individual's agreement. So we are now removing your ability to do whatever it is that you do in the astral plane, and I'm turning you over. And I said, I'm taking his piece of his soul. I said, do you have any others? And he goes, oh yeah, I've got a lot. And I go, hand them over. And I watched them as they flew off from him into the ether to whoever they belonged to. So I not only healed this individual who woke up the next day having more energy than he knew what to do with,
Wow.
but whoever else was involved. And I said, are you the only one doing this in the astral field? He says, no, there's a lot of us.
Yeah. Wow. That's a gift when you can be of service to so many people, so many other beings who are in need of their soul pieces, come on.
Yeah.
That's not cool. It's never going to be cool to try to, take another person's soul aspect. That's not okay.
No, in the old days, I was called goody two shoes, teacher's pet. I mean, you name it. It's like this brings on a whole new level of that. I'm a defender of the free will, let's call it that. But I'm not the only one, and you can be too.
I love that message. Um, if you want to, would you like to discuss a little bit about the Galactic Court, or is that for another video?
The Galactic Federation or
I
the
Galactic Court, yeah, however you want to call it. The
I
court.
don't. Yeah, I know of their existence in the astral plane. I
Mhm.
know that I've been called to be a witness a few times. And you've seen Harry Potter. I can't think of any soul who hasn't seen at least the movies. So the when Harry's on trial and they are at the not the Institute of Magic, what's that called? Anyways, that place where he goes on trial, and you have all of the other witches up in the auditorium area, and he's down in the middle. Imagine that only to the size of a stadium, and that's what you get when you're involved with the Galactic Federation trial. It's massive.
Wow, big audience, huh?
Big audience, yeah.
And
Yeah.
what do people go up there for trial for?
Anything that, like, anything I've been involved in has been directly related to instances where free will has been corrupted. So if you're one of those people who, whether by accident or by design, decided to send a spell to somebody or do a hex, which is basically drawing the five-pointed star in a circle, right? And then you put your spell work or whatever inside of that to cast for a person. If you're trying to control them, and I mean even a love spell,
Mm-mm.
uh, I mean, what does a police officer say to speeders? Don't do it.
Stop
It-
immediately.
yeah, it's harmful, not only to the person that you're affecting, because who are you to get in the way of somebody's spiritual growth? And who are you to control other people? You're like, well, they deserve it. Then you deserve what's coming to you. That's how it works.
Ooh, I like that. I mean, there you got the skills have to be balanced, you know, there is a balance in this universe. And I also think that there's something about a lot of this dark magic stuff where people are looking for fast gains, but are they lasting gains, or are they, you know, that's not like, a lot of people are seduced by the darker side because they think they're going to get the fast gains.
Yeah.
Instead
Yeah,
of
they do. And sometimes they do get the fast gains. And maybe the fast gains are something that are extended for 50 years or so for a family of people who are protected from like lawsuits or whatever. But it doesn't last. It doesn't last. At some point, there's an ending, and at some point, there is justice because it's one of the laws. And the law says there is undeviating justice in all the circumstances of my life. And if you say that in a moment of crisis, there's undeviating justice in all the circumstances of my life, you'll feel it. The energy shifts because now you're putting trust and faith in the universe to have your back. That's what it is.
That's incredible. And so as you said, like you watch some people, they build their empires and they're never touched, right? As far as we can see. But
Yeah.
then what we don't see is how that affects their lineages. And I mean, like you said before, like the person that did the ayahuasca, that, you know, somebody, one of his forefathers made some kind of agreement, and that is almost like the inherited burden of all that karma is what I'm trying to say. Because it's Mercury retrograde and my words are like, woo. It's so funny. I'm just like talking.
What is that?
What is that? How do I do
Well, if a person is willing, usually this is the crazy part. Usually people will take on a dark magic spell or, the effects of it for the purpose of securing a lineage and giving to their children and being able to give and give. What they don't realize is they're basically saying your lineage will not exist past you. Whatever you're working so hard for, if you got there out of ways that are not of integrity, then it will be revoked. And it doesn't matter what timeline it is. And you can argue with me. It's like, how long has the United States been around? 250 years as a country, right? So as a country, it has karma. Individuals, as we live our life, have karma. Religions have karma. Things are going to come out. The truth will out. It always does. I have seen it in small cycles in my own life from people who decided to stab me in the back. And then 20 years later, I realized, what's going on and how they have developed a huge sense of guilt and a loss in self because of what they did to me,
Mm,
it comes back.
mhm.
I didn't have to do anything. I was witness to it all.
Mm,
Don't take vengeance, just
yeah.
defend.
Yes. I think that is such a beautiful and important thing to share, that you don't have to get vengeance because the karma works itself out.
Yeah.
And just letting go. And that's a hard thing. It's a hard thing, not like getting the vengeance, but it's a hard thing to be get back into your center after somebody that you love tried to attack you and try and over again, and they're just all their whole MO is to bring you down. And
Yeah.
that's it's very sad. I have prayed many times and light my archangel Michael candles for these lost souls, because it's heartbreaking in the sense that you actually love and care about somebody, and the things that they keep doing are pretty crazy.
Self-destructive more than anything, because they'll lose valuable relationships, including yours. They'll lose a sense of self. Anytime, anything, and I'm repeating this because it's so important. Anything that we allow into our lives, whether it's a belief, a person, a church, a group, anything that breaks our relationship with ourself and our connection with Source, God, is going to corrupt us. It's going to change. It's going to cause problems and conflict. The best thing you can do is stay connected and be of integrity. Be who you are as a sovereign being.
Absolutely. So I wanted to bring this up, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Why do you think now more than ever, so many people who are doing their divine work are also getting, or people are attempting, like a lot of people are attempting to bring down a lot of really good people? What is that about? Has that always been going on, or it seems to be,
I think it's just been, I mean, the Spanish Inquisition put the cooling gel on it for a little bit because you no longer have the people to do it, right? They killed a lot of people who were magical, mystical, whether they were on the light or on the dark. It didn't matter. They were just like, we want that information. You need to give it to us. You're going to die. And they were like, no, we're not giving it to you. So they all died. So you lost people to do the work. It's not gained so much in popularity. It's gained in the volume of people
Mm-hmm.
because more nobody's killing them. So I'm not suggesting that we do. let's not restart the witch hunt. No, the whole purpose of the Spanish Inquisition was for the Vatican to gain the sacred, keep it secret, keep it safe, the ancient wisdom practices. And when those who were the initiates wouldn't give it up, they turned to the witches. That's what happened. That's the reality of it. So why is it prolific? It's getting prolific, and I think a lot of things. There's one of my geniuses is be able to see the corresponding points of interest across the board of many different categories of life, and I see how many people are struggling in their personal relationships, and the lack of knowledge and skill set and how to communicate and maturity, emotional maturity, not only recognizing your feelings, but what to do with them and how to utilize them for your next action, how to respond instead of react, like all of these things, these skill sets, if you lack them, if you have low emotional integrity, low emotional intelligence, you're going to do low emotional intelligence things. And that includes vengeance. It's going to include jealousy. It's going to, right? All of those things. Am I calling some people out? Yes.
Crack up laughing like, oh wow, yeah. Not naming
Hey,
any names here, but
let's go to Forrest Gump. Stupid is as stupid does. And it doesn't change when you change the what? What's going on here? Is it stupidity, or is it lack of intelligence? Is it lack
projecting outwards, right? Because I always go, why does somebody think that if they extinguish the light of another, that suddenly they're going to be happy, like that's bring joy to them or something like that?
Well, it's the same thing. So in EQ, emotional intelligence, or quotient. It's exactly that, the difference between seeking happiness, which is fleeting, and joy, living in joy, two different things. Think about why we go to see a comedy show. Having a moment of happiness is a joke that everybody gets and we all laugh. That's happiness. Now repeat the joke and try to get the same level of happiness out of that same joke. That's what it's like to seek happiness. It's fleeting. It's empty. The moment has passed. But if you hold on to, this is a story, this is part of a whole evening, you know, metaphorically, there's another joke that's going to come on the back of that one, and just wait until later in the show when he combines 3 different jokes that all come from the same show, and you're on this, you know, inside joke together. It's so funny. That's living in joy.
Mm.
Much different living. You can't tell the same joke over and over again and get the same level of happiness out of it. We have to allow for ourselves to feel the happiness and joy in a moment and then move through. And I think that's the same thing when it comes to the immaturity actions, feeling insecure, feeling like someone's always attacking you, feeling like you're the victim, feeling like all of those things are just an inability to transmute and use your skill set to get to the other side. Reframe it. Let's reframe it all.
Yeah.
And that just takes time and practice. You're not going to get it after just listening to an interview today, you know, for an hour.
We're just touching on little things here, guys.
Yeah, little points of light to give hope that there is a better way to do this. And let me say this too. I came from all of those places. I came from having a low emotional intelligence. I came from having a low immaturity rate. I came from that. So nobody pops out mature.
Ta-da!
Yeah.
Well, that'd be so great though, right?
Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't it be lovely? Yeah.
Yeah, the great forgetfulness, we all go through it. So but it's that remembering, and something I want to mention too is that so once somebody has been exposed to those certain standards, right, those integrity and those things, like like you said, like nobody's perfect, like we all kind of came from these dysfunctional things and we're just growing and learning, but once we come to understand truly um that there is this light, there's this dark, and that there's this gray, but we want to do good, right, and we want to be good, and not goody two shoes, but we really want to contribute to this world in the way that we know we're here to serve the creator, right, we're just that aspect.
Yeah.
But when people are really exposed to that, they know the difference between the two. They're intelligent enough to know, but then they choose to walk away and choose, you know, to do those things that are very dark and very nefarious and karma creating, like that to me, that's mind-boggling, because when you fall, when you kind of rise up into that light and then you turn around and you're just, it's, do you want to speak on that? Because it's something I've seen a lot and it's very shocking to me.
Okay, so I see this the same way as I see being a good student. You know, I graduated at top of one of the top of my class. There were 17 of us that all were, we qualified mathematically as the, you know, valedictorian. And that's unusual, but you have to be a high achiever, and it's hard to do. It takes study, it takes time, it takes commitment, it takes all the things that most people don't want to do. Mm-hmm. And I think that's true for being a spiritually, you know, a integrous person. It's hard work, it takes practice, it takes keeping yourself in constant check. But here's something that motivates me. I have developed such great relationships with my spirit team. I couldn't imagine my life without them. I would be lost. I really would. And if I lose my own integrity, I'm no longer in the right vibrational address to be with them.
Mm-hmm.
So my job is to keep my integrity in place. It doesn't mean you go without being tempted. It doesn't mean you go without things being hard. Mm-hmm. Some things that are right to do are sometimes hard and sometimes easy. It's just, you know, I'm really simplifying. Why do people go to the dark? Because it's easy at first. It's very attractive. It solves their problems. They think it solves their problems. That's the number one thing in marketing. Find something that'll solve people's problems and sell it to them. That's it. Simple, simple. And the devil's got that down. Done.
But no, it was like not guaranteed to last forever.
Oh, you want your soul?
Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta, yeah, office space. Yeah, we're gonna need you to come in over the weekend. You know, it's you're not getting out of it.
Mhm. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, marketing, I guess. It's really good marketing.
Yeah.
Very good marketing. And you see it a lot. I feel like my eyes are so open to seeing it everywhere, that marketing. And I'm grateful because, you know, my mom taught me a lot of good stuff, but and I played in all the realms too, you know, but I realized like when I got my bearings, like this is feels right. This is where I know that I'm meant to be because it doesn't even feel safe in the darker side. It feels like you're just falling and falling and it feels so it's so dark. It feels so dangerous. And um I don't know, I felt like the light was so loving and so protective. And again, like with the gray, like you have a right to be a badass, right? You have a right to be a badass. You're not giving up your ability to be a badass, but you're just choosing something that's really connecting your soul, nourishing your soul.
Yeah, almost a completing of a contract. I feel like a lot of the things that I do from my day-to-day life points back to my contract with God. Why am I here? And not only do I get to be all these wonderful things as far as, you know, healer, but also the defender of free will, but I get to do some pretty crazy things because I mean, when I met my dragon, he's massive. And I said to my higher self, I'm like, why do I need, what kind of trouble am I going to get into? That I need a dragon this size. So it was like, that's crazy. I mean, these are normal conversations. These are words come out of my mouth with people of my friends. Like, that's normal. This is my life. Half of it is in the other world, and I get to work with the crazy stuff I call crazy too. But yeah, the other half, I'm here with you all on in the 3D plane. It's just, yeah, I'm privy to things and I'm remembering things from previous lifetimes. If you've lived here and you know that you've lived here more than one time, you're part of a spiritual team that is here meant to raise and up level and elevate the human race. So I can't do this by myself. Come on.
Yeah. Oh, come on. I mean, yeah, and I think that's the cool part is that there's not that feeling of competition. It feels like, and you know, we need as many light warriors as possible. Like
Yeah.
the world today, like obviously, you know, and I think it's really important for light warriors to also remember that they have a right to defend themselves. They have a right to, you know, return to sender. Like we don't have to just sit here and just take it just because we're quote unquote nice. Like sometimes light warriors are not nice when it's time to not be nice because we have to stand up and say no, you know, and
Expected to. That's the thing. We are expected to. I was taught by angels how to do this. You think angels are all like, blah, blah, everything's all, you know, feathers. Look at my feathers. You know, no, it, they're they are warriors. They have swords. They are ready to go. They're down with it. What do you want us to do, Eva? Whatever you feel like you need to do, they love working with me. Whatever you want to do, and they're like, yes. Unleash the Kraken. You know, it gets pretty crazy.
it's so fun. There, yeah, you know, but they need the permission, right? And so that's, do you want to speak to that? Because a lot of people are like, I'm a good person, like why is this happening? Well, you have to say something. You have to say something.
Yeah, we can't just sit and avoid and go, well, I'm here, protect me, and not ask for it. You have to ask for it. And by the way, every healing requires permission. So don't go sending prayers to people without getting their permission for it, because I will share a very personal story. It feels like it's out in left field, but it's led me here, so I'm going to share it. When I was 7 years old, my aunt was passing from cancer. She had ovarian cancer that had risen up again after being in remission. And we spent a lot of time going to her house every day until, she had the hospital bed in her living room. That was now her life. And she was in so much pain. And I remember coming up to her and I'm holding her hand and I says, Aunt Ida, I says, I feel so bad that you feel like this. I'm praying for you to get better every day. Now this woman was moaning, crying. She was in constant pain from the cancer. And she stopped all of that. And she looked at me dead in the eye and she said, Eva, you stop that right now. My goal is to die. We have to respect people for where they are and their decisions. I can go deep and I can get very intense. I understand that. That's just a 7-year-old. I could handle it. I was like, okay, wow, all right. And I was angry at God for a bit, saying, how could you let this happen? But I got through it okay. So healing is with permission. Always ask for permission first before you do that. And the same thing is true for your own healing, for your own. You can tell your angels, you can tell your guides, you can tell your healers when you go into a multi-dimensional healing space. I give you permission for this healing. You've got to give them permission. Otherwise you're just there.
Yeah.
You're in the waiting room.
It is so important. Consent, right? Consent is so important. And that's why when people violate the free will without, you're not getting consent, to do that. So you're impeding.
Yeah.
You're impeding on people's soul. And everybody came here for their own purpose. You don't know what their purpose is. And nobody has a right to just bind someone just because they're jealous. Like, that's crazy. You don't you don't get to do that. Like, people that I feel happy when people are free, when they're who they are, because don't we all want a world where everybody is exactly like their highest version of who they are? The pleasantness that we'd all experience would be on another level.
I wish that everyone did, but not everyone does. There are people out there who want to control, they want to have power, they want to tell you what to do and what you cannot do. I think we had evidence of that in 2020.
Yeah, it's amazing that people put up and submitted, it's amazing people submit so easily. That's all I have to say. And that's why I wanted to have this conversation too, to remind people that they have the sovereignty. They have a right to say no. You have a right to say no.
There are a lot of countries on this planet where freedom reigns, and well, we have wars to continue to protect that freedom. And when even if you are not part of the country that you feel like you're physically free, that connection you have with your higher self and with God, you have the freedom for that. That's on you, solely on you. And I guarantee you, the same reasons that you use and the excuses that you use to tell your boss why you were late, they ain't gonna work when you're in heaven. It's not. They're not gonna work.
Because everything's transparent. There's, and I think that's what an evolved race would be, is we would be telepathic. We would not, that's why empaths, they can read people and then like, oh, this is freaky, because, like, it's intense. Stuff that is inside people really needs some clearing, some healing, some working through. There's a lot of darkness people are carrying inside, and it's weighing down the whole collective. That's how I feel. So get it together. Get it together, people.
It's not dark shouldn't exist at all. We need dark to balance the light. Light is needed to balance the dark. One cannot exist without the other. Maybe a future conversation, we could talk about the other world and where manifesting actually begins. But this is also the magical place. This is where where the other side of the veil lives and exists, is in the other world. It's an actual place.
We're definitely gonna do a podcast on that. Yeah, but the balance, I think we've been out of balance for such a long time, and it's been so heavy, and it's time to celebrate. It's time to really call in that light within our physical body. That's part of Ascension. Maybe you want to speak a little on Ascension?
Yeah, love to. I mean, it's a common word to talk about Jesus, right? And so I use him as an example. He brought in the dispensation of love, and that was his purpose, to teach us all about love each other, serve to each other, be in service, be in gratitude and pray, right? So he gave us those distinctions, and that was during the age of Pisces. You know that. Well, now we've moved into the age of Aquarius, and the Aquarius is about the water, masculine and feminine, right? So it's about the dispensation of harmony. Now is the time. We're talking about the second coming. The second coming is not a third party coming or Jesus coming back. It's about us ascending to our own highest self.
Mm.
So the dispensation of harmony requires for us to understand our own inner masculine, our own inner feminine, and heal them. And that's why all of this is coming up. It's crazy in the world. We're having the most difficult time of adults getting into relationships and having something other than a toxic relationship. So these are, they're ready. It's ready to be healed. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so much conflict, right? And so this ascension, what I offer as a service, is a way to clean the body, minerally strong, so that you can make way for the energy it takes to restore it energetically, and learn how to be in relationship with yourself, with your partner in life, and with your creator. And all of those three together, they lead you straight to this place of your highest self, your highest possible self. And that's my focus for the next year at least, is getting into this place where helping a few people to just focus on that. It's the ultimate in personal development.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I think that's so beautiful. I mean, I think that, that's why it's important to know like what your sole purpose is, because everybody came here to share something. We all kind of volunteered to bring something to the table, and whatever is perfect for this time, and that's so needed right now, because you can see the imbalance. It's like, whoa, it's like marbles like all over the place. Like I used to play with marbles as a little kid. I love marbles. And you just like throw them and they just go all over. But that's how it feels like, especially in the polarity aspect, right?
Yeah.
Um, it's wild. It's wild that it's come to this place, but maybe it's a healing crisis. Maybe it's calling for that. So I can definitely see you doing, sharing in a bigger way. And I think that people are really ready for it. I think people are really ready to heal. I can't say all people, but I think a lot of people are just so over it. Like they just really are done with all of the, all of this old way of being. Like we just want to shed it all off and kind of, yeah, like, right, go into a healing chamber and come out like, oh, I remember now. Like, you
Wish,
know
I wish we could just snap our fingers and it'd be all better. It takes a true transformation of self. You're going to
Yeah.
think differently, not only about yourself, but about your relationships. You're going to have a different faith in your body's ability to heal. A lot of people think their body's broken. A lot of healers resent their body. Hate my body. It never works the way I want it to. We can fix that. I solved that. Like take all the guesswork out of how the body works. So you can, especially chronic conditions, that's easy. The hardest part is changing your beliefs about relationshiping and how you relationship with the universe. A lot of people don't feel like they've got, protection. So that can be changed. We can work on all of that, but it's not overnight. And that's why I only offer the Ascension program as a 1-year commit.
Wow, that's incredible. I can see. Yeah, I definitely think that um this transformation, it's growing pains. You can't just do it all at once. We're all going through our mini, glow up, grow up, and our lessons. And sometimes we're completing a lot of stuff right now. I think during Mercury retrograde too, there's a huge completion. I can feel that. But it's almost like, earning your stripes. Like you have to like churn your way through, and it's not glamorous. Like if you really want to do the work, people are like, yeah, I definitely want to heal. But then like Oh yeah, really? Because you're gonna have to be like, oh, you have to
You're
be
gonna want to quit in your first healing reaction. Yeah.
yeah, the healing reaction can be brutal, and it's not glamorous. Like a lot, I feel like it's become like this glamorous thing, but the truth is healing, it requires a lot of strength, right? A lot
And
of
fight. Yeah, you said it best. Love and light without a fight. It ain't gonna happen without a fight. You gotta put it a fight for yourself. You're fighting for you.
yeah, I love it. I love that. And that's part of overcoming the saboteur archetype, and I think everybody has probably experienced a saboteur archetype, but it's something that takes a lot to work through, and it's a process, just like with healing your body, healing your mind, healing your heart, and the way that you think about things. So I think this program is incredible. I'll definitely put the link below so anybody who wants to join can access that and find more about you.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I have an application process. Just you can sign up for a free 30-minute call and we'll talk about it and answer all questions and even the ones you don't know to ask. And if it's right for you, then I'll make some recommendations.
Fantastic. Well, this was such a fun conversation. Thanks so much for coming on again. Until next time, you guys, much love and blessings to you all. Bye for now.